Hi, we're the Blosmans. I'm Ron.
I'm Lynette.
And this is our story about our son Edwin, who is diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and we're here to tell you about it.
He sees a neurologist in Cleveland, and the neurologist had told us kind of briefly, kind of just skimmed over fetal alcohol. But at the time it really didn't mean anything to us, and it wasn't really explained to us. And we had gone to, when his youngest brother, when he was placed in our home, we had to go get relicensed as foster parents because we didn't have the license any longer. And we were just desperate to get ours. And one of the things that we chose, because it was an all-day thing, was on fetal alcohol. And we sat in that training and just looked at each other and said, my gosh, this is Ed. This is our life. It started in kindergarten that we knew that he just wasn't handling situations the same as other kids did. But by second grade, we realized that the other kids had noticed that he was different, and they were treating him differently. And that's when we decided that the one thing he really had going for him was he was a really happy child, and he was he's just a delight. He's just bubbly and happy. And when the other kids were responding to him that way, he was starting to notice it himself and feeling bad about himself, and that's what we wanted to avoid. And that's when we took him out of public school and put him in, we homeschooled him for a couple of years. And not that that didn't go all right, it did. But then we had heard of a new charter school when charter schools were just coming about, and we'd heard of this charter school, and I went and got the information and sat through those, and it was for ADHD children. And we thought, well, that would be ideal for him because he is certainly ADHD, he has a hard time sitting down, and they had different approaches to teaching kids, which were appropriate for him. But even in that school, he didn't fit in. He stood out because it was more than ADHD, but we just didn't realize at that point what it really was. The county offers things that are different than our school system. We looked into those, and we found a unit for behavioral handicap, because at this time we were really just looking at behaviors, not realizing what was behind those behaviors. And in that setting, he had really an outstanding teacher. She was wonderful, and that was the one thing that Ron and I both have said, is we've never had a teacher that we felt just didn't care or wasn't trying or wasn't invested in Ed. They just didn't have enough information to approach it from the direction it needed to be approached from. The school system, we just kept trying to put him in the same situation and hoping for better results, which was not going to happen. And instead of looking at what we really were dealing with, we couldn't say enough about how the right placement makes the difference. When we had done a really extensive neuropsych for him, the neuropsychologist, the one thing that he said was, you will never be able to, Ed will never be in a position where he's going to fit into society. Society is always going to have to fit him. He's going to have to be put in situations that fit him. You're never going to fit him in. That's not how his brain works. It's not going to work. We need to quit trying that. For teachers, for one thing that Ron and I had thought about is trust the parents. I mean, we live with them. It's easy to think that a parent is just making excuses or trying to compensate or trying to not hold a child accountable, and that couldn't be further from the truth. A fetal alcohol child takes more parenting than any 100 kids combined. You know, that is not the case at all. And don't assume that behaviors are just rebellion or delinquency. The behaviors may look the same, but with fetal alcohol, the behaviors come from brain damage, not willfulness. At one moment, it might be great. One day it could be great, and the next day it could be a meltdown. And again, it's just brain damage. People with fetal alcohol get overwhelmed, they get stressed easily. It doesn't have to be logical or make sense to the people around them, but it is who they are. And until we accept who they are and work with them where they're at, we're not going to be successful, we're going to fail them. Ed is presently living in an MRDD home. I don't think that we would have thought that it would be quite this soon, but it was part of our long-range planning anyway, because he's never going to live independently. He's not ever going to live without some sort of supports, and these supports have been the right supports for him. MRDD has an excellent program.
Can you tell us a little bit about your house and where you live?
Well, it's big. It's a group home, so we have 4 guys work and live here. We, including me, that is.
Do you get along with your roommates?
Some, I'm honest about that. I have issues, they have issues sometimes, so we all get into a fiasco, and we pull it together and we move on. And we have staff always here. I have Miss Polly and Miss DeVore and Miss Marks. They have all been there to help out.
What were your favorite subjects when you were in school?
Well, there's so many I cannot remember. I like phys ed, I like gym, I like, stuff that I was more active in, like math, I was sort of okay with. Reading, I'm an avid reader, according to my mom and me. I mean, she taught me at minor level, most of the time. I come home and I'd be like, what's this word mean? She'd tell me, so. Those were teachers I've known for a while. They got to know me, they worked hard with me, and I give them credit for what they've done for me in my life. I mean, they've helped me out a great deal. In speech area, I think that teachers need to understand each other and talk. And sometimes they don't have a chance to. Sometimes they need to slow down and say, we need a break. Yeah, so that's my advice I can give. And always keep a smile on your face for life.
You are viewing Module 4 of a 4-module series of webinars that discusses the alcohol screening and brief intervention process to decrease alcohol-exposed pregnancies. The objectives for Module 4 are to summarize the first 3 modules and move toward implementation in your WIC clinics. In Module 1, we discussed alcohol use in the United States and the general population, as well as the incidence of use during pregnancy. Remember, 7.6% of pregnant women report alcohol use during their pregnancies, and 1.4% of pregnant women reported binge drinking. We defined what a standard drink is and calculated the number of standard drinks in various common servings of alcohol. In Module 2, we discussed the risks of drinking alcohol during pregnancy and the effects of consumption on the mother and developing fetus, with an in-depth discussion of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, or FASD. In Module 3, we discussed the screening process for alcohol use during pregnancy and how a brief intervention can change a participant's behavior. We discussed how motivational interviewing is used in the brief intervention to assist a participant move through the stages of change and set a goal to reduce or eliminate alcohol use during pregnancy. So what's next? Begin screening all pregnant women at certification. You can attach the screening tool to the pink health history or just give separately. The health professional should review the screening tool with the participant. Leading questions can change the screener, so watch out. Clarifying answers is fine, but don't start a question with, "Are you sure?" A better question is, you marked that it takes 6 drinks to feel the effects of alcohol. What effects are you feeling at that point? If she says she passes out or feels drunk, state to her, "Do you feel anything before you feel drunk?" She may say, "I feel warm," or "I feel tipsy." Then ask, "How many drinks does that take?" She may say 2 or 3 or whatever, so you would correct her screener to this number. She may even tell you it only takes a sip to feel it in her stomach, and she misunderstood the question, so changing her answer there wouldn't trigger a brief intervention. Score the screening tool to determine if a brief intervention is appropriate. Give the brief intervention as a part of your nutrition counseling at the certification visit. Use risk codes 47 if question 2, 3, and/or 4 triggered a positive screen. Follow the Ohio High Risk Policy for follow-up guidance. Ohio WIC High Risk Policy states that Code 47 requires a follow-up appointment within 6 weeks of certification. Any participant receiving a brief intervention because of questions 2, 3, or 4 should be scheduled for this time frame. If the participant received a brief intervention because of risky behavior, which is questions 1 and 5, she should receive follow-up at her mid-certification appointment. At the follow-up appointment, the following should be addressed: progress toward or achievement of the goal that was set during the brief intervention, to quit drinking, avoid drinking, or cut down from previous levels. If she met her goal, provide affirmation and congratulations. She does not need another high-risk appointment unless something else is going on to justify the need for more follow-up. If she does not meet her goal, provide another brief intervention, affirm the progress she did make, identify the risky behavior that prevented her success, and help her set another goal. At this point, assess whether a referral to treatment should be suggested. Some women who screen positive will refuse a brief intervention. If she's in pre-contemplation, she isn't ready to hear the information. However, you can acknowledge her feelings, provide a brief intervention booklet if she will take it to review by herself, and let her know that she can still receive more information when she is ready. Document what has transpired and still bring her in for follow-up according to policy. Some women will screen negative, and your critical thinking skills tell you there may be more information the participant isn't sharing, and you feel a brief intervention should be done. Go ahead and offer the information, and if she's receptive, give the brief intervention and document your justification. This will make the follow-up visit more meaningful. It is always better to err on the side of giving the information rather than missing an opportunity to change someone's life. Just as any new policy, technique, or intervention is intimidating at first, providing alcohol screening and brief intervention services gets easier with time and practice. It is evidence-based and becoming a standard of care in emergency departments, primary care offices, and even OB/GYN offices. Ongoing role play with your coworkers keeps your skills refreshed and your confidence secure. Typically, about 1 to 8% of pregnant women will screen positive for a brief intervention, which may not add up to many women depending on your caseload and the degree of risk your participants have. It has been our experience that our staff complete about 2 brief interventions total per week, and often it is a different health professional each time. In the beginning, we had a role-play scenario at each monthly meeting for practice. As time has gone by and we are confident in our skills, the role plays have decreased to a few times per year. We also find that using motivational interviewing skills comes naturally to those who use them in all areas of nutrition counseling each day. It isn't much different to seek the motivation to eat more vegetables, take more walks, quit smoking, or breastfeed their baby. The subject of alcohol use may feel like a touchier subject, but a well-trained and practiced health professional can broach the subject with the same confidence that she would use in discussing any nutrition concern with any participant. This is another great opportunity for WIC to lead the innovation, just as we have done with breastfeeding support, improved growth charts, and childhood obesity. We are the leaders in community health time and time again. Some final points to keep in mind. According to the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration 2010 data, alcohol use is common during pregnancy, with 10.8% of pregnant women aged 15 to 44 reporting current alcohol use and 3.7% reporting binge drinking while pregnant. An alcoholic beverage is defined by the serving size. One standard drink is 12 ounces of beer, 8 ounces of malt liquor, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of liquor. Prenatal alcohol exposure is the leading known cause of mental retardation in the United States and causes fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, or FASD. Alcohol can harm developing organs and tissue, especially the brain, although consequences are often invisible. Every baby reacts differently to alcohol exposure, and there is no known safe time to drink and no known safe amount to drink. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorders are 100% preventable. Lastly, alcohol screening and brief intervention, or ASBI, is an evidence-based, accurate, and inexpensive tool for identifying and decreasing alcohol use during pregnancy. Motivational interviewing is already a part of the WIC counseling process, which elicits and strengthens the motivation to change behavior. And finally, congratulations! You have completed the Alcohol Screening and Brief Intervention webinar series.